What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my podcast. Today is a beautiful Thursday afternoon, the 26th of March. So I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are being safe and staying clean. And today I just want to give you guys quick updates, what's going on, my opinion, and just get on with the whole podcast. So today, actually last night, there was rumors. There's a report that Dak Prescott is now talking to the Cowboys about getting a deal done. Now, if you guys don't know the situation, he was franchise tagged. And if he signs the franchise tag, he will be paid, I believe it's 26 million, somewhere between that range for 1 year. It's not a contract. It's not a long-term contract. It's just 1 year. After this year, he's a free agent again. Now, can they franchise tag him again? Yes, they can. Do they want to? Absolutely not. Because that's something that, it would be a Kirk Cousins situation where the Redskins franchise tagged him twice. They ended up paying him like $60 million over 2 years, guaranteed. And then he left to the Minnesota Vikings. Now, you can say, who got the better deal? Because, Kirk Cousins turned out to be exactly what the Redskins believed he was. Not good enough to make it to the playoffs. Not good enough to take the team over the edge into the playoffs. So now they have Dwayne Haskins. They have Ron Rivera as the head coach. They just signed, did they sign Case Keenum? No. I think another team signed Case Keenum. Either way, no, actually they did sign Case Keenum. So either way, they're figuring out who is going to be their next quarterback. I know Ron Rivera is not a big fan of Dwayne Haskins. We'd likely to see what goes on in the future, but it's very exciting to see what is going on. So, if the Cowboys do not get into a deal with Dak Prescott, it's going to most likely become a Kirk Cousins situation where Dak Prescott does not feel the trust that the Cowboys say that they have towards him being their franchise quarterback because they don't sign him to a long-term deal. I hear all the reports and I hear all the interviews that, Jerry Jones comes out onto the interviews and he says, Dak Prescott's our franchise quarterback. And then I hear Stephen Jones coming out and saying, he definitely is a franchise quarterback. And no deal. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, they just haven't signed to a deal. Usually, quarterbacks don't make it to the last year of their contract, especially not into free agency, where they either have to be franchised or dealt with in a deal. Now, the Cowboys have misplayed this tremendously. They're waiting too long, and if they continue to wait too long, the price tag is just going to go up. Every time a quarterback is up for their contract, much less, not even up for the contract, like a year left on their contract, they're still looking to become one of the, or if not the most paid quarterback. We saw this with Russell Wilson. We saw this with Ben Roethlisberger. We saw this with Carson Wentz. We saw this with Jared Goff. Overall, we see this in every team who say, you know what, we want to lock down this quarterback for the foreseeable future. We have, and you go down the list of the most highest paid quarterbacks on average per year, you have Russell Wilson at number 1, $35 million a year. Number 2, Steelers quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, $34 million a year. Packers quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, $33.5 million. Jared Goff, $33.5 million. Carson Wentz, $32 million. And then we go into Matt Ryan, $30 million. We have Kirk Cousins, $28 million. We have Jacoby Brissett at $27.98. Now, these prices are definitely going to fluctuate now that, they have Tom Brady making $30 million and all these other quarterbacks. So this was last year compared to last year, how much they're making and so on and so forth. So now you have Tom Brady making $30 million in Tampa Bay. So he jumps up past Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins just signed an extension as well. We see all these quarterbacks whose team believes in them, and they're giving them the money that they deserve. Not based on, what they've done, but what they have the potential to do. And if you have a quarterback, and you can ask any franchise, it's really hard to come by a quarterback who's great and plays at the level that you're getting paid at. You can ask the New England Patriots. There's a lot of cockiness coming from them about how, Jerry Stidham is going to be their next leader, and they're not worried. They've been preparing to release Tom Brady. They weren't worried about it, and going and on and on. It's going to be a real shock to see another quarterback not do the same to what you're accustomed to. There's going to be some throws, that Tom Brady would have made normally to win a game, to put them in position to win a game, that Jarrett Stidham is probably not going to make. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. But to compare him to the GOAT, I would put my money on that he's going to disappoint them. It's a really big shoes to fill, and I hope him the best. I would only dream about what it would feel like to step into the shoes of Tom Brady. But you see all these teams are now scrambling for quarterbacks, and they sign a quarterback for a few years, nothing great comes out of it, they have to move on. Or they find a quarterback in the draft, he gets injured, and they have to move on. All these things that happen that makes a quarterback more valuable than the rest of than any other player. And this is what we're seeing with Dak Prescott. He has not missed a single game in his 4 years. It's as simple as that. He's only missed one practice. He's been pretty above average to average to above average, to be honest. And he's 26 years old. So he doesn't have any off the field issues that we know of. What else could you ask for? I saw Kirk Cousins get the trust that he needed in Minnesota. Did they make a mistake paying him that much fully guaranteed? Maybe you can make the argument. They haven't been back to the conference championship. So did they make a mistake on investing their money in Kirk Cousins? They probably did. But Kirk Cousins, if you ask Kirk Cousins, he's going to say, they showed me the trust that I deserved as a free agent quarterback. And if they weren't going to do it, and I remember this like it was yesterday, the Jets were offering him even more money, and Kirk Cousins turned them down, fully guaranteed, and said, you know what, I'm going to take a little bit less money, and I'm going to go with a team that gives me the best option to win. And they did, and he did. He went to the Minnesota Vikings, who had a really good year the year before, and stunk it up. And you can say any other variable, but this is what happens when you pay a quarterback like he's a great quarterback. You get an average quarterback, and just because you pay him like a great quarterback doesn't mean they magically turn into a great quarterback just because you give them more money in their pocket. And that's just what we've seen. We've seen this with Jared Goff. They went to the Super Bowl, and you can talk all you want about how he was a good quarterback, what happened and stuff like that. All I saw out there was a puppet for Sean McVay. And I know that sounds really bad, but it's true. He was told who to throw the ball to, when to throw the ball, and everything. Well, not when to throw the ball, because you have the time cuts out at 15 seconds left on the clock where the coach can talk to the quarterback. But you lay out everything for him to know exactly what to do. And we saw this past year where the other defensives caught up with him. They realized we can't have Sean McVay figure out all the problems for Jared Goff. We have to make him think about it. And they did. And you know what happened with the Jared Goff situation. The Rams are really considering, did we overpay for Jared Goff? And they did. At least Kirk Cousins was paid $28 million. No, the Rams went all out and are now paying him on average $33.5 million. So that's just insane, if you ask me, about the amount of money that they're giving out to these quarterbacks. And you see Dak Prescott, and he says, "I want a slice of that pie," and the Cowboys are saying, "No, you don't deserve it." And honestly, this is my complete, honest, unbiased opinion. I don't believe he's worth more than $25 million. And even then, it's a little bit of a stretch. When you look at the pieces around Dak Prescott for the past 4 years, you see an amazing team full with talent and you always see them come short. And this is why the quarterbacks get paid the most money. They are entrusted with the ability to turn the tide when the tide needs to be turned. And I know that sounds kind of like a tongue twister, but the quarterback has the ball in his hand every single snap. Not the running back. Maybe the center. The center does too, but he has to throw it back, so it doesn't count as him. If you guys want to be a little bit smart with that. But the quarterback has the ball in his hand. The quarterback has the decision to where to put the ball, and that always affects Dak Prescott a lot. They've won one playoff game. Last season, they had tremendous expectations because they had a tremendously talented team, and they didn't make the playoffs. I believe, I've said this before, I believe he was like 1-6 against over 500 teams. That's unacceptable. That's horrible. That's Kirk Cousins like. And I know Kirk Cousins, I think he's below 500 when going against a good team that's over 500 in their own record. All of these years and you can't win against good teams, that's a sign that you should not be paid like the captain of the ship. If you have to depend completely on everybody around you, why should you get the most money out of all of them? And that's what I see with Dak Prescott. You can see it back, and I hear so many excuses. You know, I watch Undisputed on Fox. And I hear excuses all day long. I listen to many podcasts. I listen to ESPN's, and I live in Dallas, Texas, so I listen to all these people making excuses. And it's ridiculous. I remember when Kirk Cousins was still on the Washington Redskins, he lost, I believe it was 4 out of 5 offensive linemen, starters, offensive line. I think he lost his tight end, Jordan Reed, who's had injury problems in the past. And he lost like 2 wide receivers, all in the same season for a span of games, all of those. And he was still winning games. Say what you want about Kirk Cousins, but I saw that with my own eyes. For a stretch of a game, yeah, he lost a couple, but he won some games with like 3 or 4 offensive linemen starting completely out of the game, missing wide receivers, missing tight ends, and he still found a way to win games. Now, of course, if you look in the rearview mirror, 2020, obviously he has not had a great career and anything like that in any measures, and I'm not comparing him to having a great career. But you saw flashes of where this dude went against all odds and won. I saw Dak Prescott crumble when he lost his left tackle. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was like a 4 or 6 game stretch where he lost his left tackle and he crumbled. I believe they went like 1-5. It was horrible. I saw it with my own eyes, and I kept saying, "This is the quarterback that we have to pay. This is the quarterback where we have to watch and give all our trust into," because I don't trust him at all. We look at everything going on, and we see all this money getting thrown around, all this money getting given to the quarterbacks who deserve it or who have shown potential to deserve the money, and this is how we do it. I'm sorry, I don't see Dak Prescott as a good quarterback. I see him as a below average to average quarterback. At times he can be above average, but it's always dependent on who's around him. We saw him, without Amari Cooper, without a true number 1 receiver, and he crumbled. We saw him with Amari Cooper, and yeah, his stats went up, and his stats, the number of yards that he was throwing and the number of touchdowns he was throwing, and surprisingly, well, actually not surprisingly, he was still losing games. It's insane. You can't pay somebody the most money when everybody around him has to be perfect. He can't lose his left tackle. He just lost his center, so I'm excited to see what he does without a true center, without the all-pro center. I'm excited to see what he does. You know, Ezekiel Elliott still in the backfield. We saw him without Ezekiel Elliott as well, and he crumbled. I don't know how I forgot to mention that one. He crumbled without his Ezekiel Elliott. Without his all-pro, like consecutive 4-year rushing leader. And he crumbles. Just because you don't have the best running back, that is not an excuse to lose games. Just because you don't have one of, if not the best left tackle in the game, is not an excuse for losing games. Because otherwise, that would be excusing every other quarterback who doesn't have the number one or at least top 3 left tackles in the NFL. It's insane. Just because you have them and you lose them doesn't mean you have to stop throwing football. Doesn't mean you have to stop winning games. We saw this with Ezekiel Elliott. The 6-game span where he went without Ezekiel Elliott and crumbled against good teams. We saw this last year with Ezekiel Elliott. Even though Ezekiel Elliott was having a kind of bad year, you can't lose against good teams like he did. And guess what? It cost him a lot. They went 8-8 last season. Look, if you just there's a rumor out there, and I don't know if it's true by any measures. I just want to put it out there because it's probably not true, but it's close to what's probably going to be in the ballpark. There's a rumor that he's probably going to get 4-year, $35 million. That is on par with Russell Wilson. I know that there's rumors that he's asking for $40 million. If he's asking for 40, I think that the Dallas Cowboys should have traded him last season. Because I've seen the Cowboys go with, backup quarterbacks and go 8-8. We've seen backup quarterbacks go. We've seen, what's the difference of having Dak Prescott on the field last season, throwing for all those yards, throwing for all those touchdowns, if they didn't even make the playoffs? That's what you have to ask yourself. Because if you look around, any quarterback can win against the worst teams in the NFL. We saw him beat the Miami Dolphins, and we were praising him. We saw him beat, the Washington Redskins. We saw him beat Eli Manning-led New York Giants. All these teams that were considered the worst, if not one of the worst teams in the NFL. You can't take credit for that. Because when it counts, when you're going against a team over 500, not even a great team, over 500, you can't lose those games. And their defense has been up and down. I won't deny it. Absolutely. You lost to Mitchell Trubisky. That's on you if Mitchell Trubisky can outplay you. We saw him lose to Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady threw for like 150 yards, somewhere around there. That's running back numbers if you really think about it. Great running back numbers, of course, but still. We saw him lose to Drew Brees when Drew Brees threw for like 8 touchdowns. I think he had 1 touchdown for consecutive seasons. The last season, 2018 season, I don't believe Drew Brees threw a touchdown, and he still lost. That's something you have to see when you're playing against great teams. You cannot depend on Dak Prescott. So if you pay him the same amount of level, the same amount of money that you're paying Russell Wilson, that's when we have a problem. Because Russell Wilson makes magic out of nothing. Russell Wilson puts the team on his back and wins games. He consistently goes to the playoffs. Now, could he do more? Is Pete Carroll holding Russell Wilson back? We saw this in the playoffs against the Dallas Cowboys. It's ridiculous what Pete Carroll's doing with Russell Wilson, but it's a topic for another day. But overall, you're going to pay somebody to perform a task, and I think there's a commercial. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Probably have. I forgot what it's about, but it's like, why would you be okay with half done jobs that you're paying for? You can't ask Dak Prescott or pay Dak Prescott for a full season and say, here, deliver us into the playoffs, and him say, I'm only gonna beat the bad teams. I'm probably going to win one game against a good team, but there's always next season. It's ridiculous. Dak Prescott does not deserve the 30. Well, he does deserve it. I'm not questioning that. As a Dallas native, I think I want us to win, and I know for a fact that Dak Prescott is not going to get us there. So if another team, I'm all for getting your money. I'm all for not taking discounts. I'm all for getting paid for what you deserve. I think he made like $4 million for 4 years playing for the Dallas Cowboys. That's ridiculous. He deserves his money. I am not voting against that. I, as a Dallas native, do not want to see the Dallas Cowboys commit the mistake that we did with Tony Romo. And no offense to Tony Romo, he's a great broadcaster, and he was a really good quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, but he was not what it was needed to push this team over the edge. I see Dak Prescott as a Jimmy Garoppolo. We saw the 49ers give him all the money, and I am sad to see that they basically throw away all that money. They should have gave me at least half, or maybe $1 million. I'd be happy with $1 million for the rest of my life. But we saw what the 49ers did. Yeah, they did make it to the playoffs, but guess what? That's probably the most that they're going to make it to. No offense. I hope I'm wrong. You 49er fans, I hope I'm wrong. I just don't see Jimmy Garoppolo having what it takes to win those games. We saw him lose the Super Bowl. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see the 49ers win. I want to see, I'm a big NFL fan, so I love all football teams. I hope I'm wrong about the about the 49ers, but I don't see Jimmy Garoppolo being what it takes to deliver us. And that's what I see as Dak Prescott. I see Dak Prescott as a cheaper Jimmy Garoppolo. Unfortunately, that might change. And he might want more than Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, let's move on to Eric Dickerson and the Los Angeles logo. I know this is a big topic for a lot of people. A lot of people are not liking it. A lot of people are showing their disgust. They want something better. They want something more. I saw a lot of LA Rams fans really mad about what the Los Angeles Rams did for their new logo. I know that they were rebranded this offseason. A couple of days ago, actually, and people were not happy at all. And I know that's insane, but when I first saw it come out, I was like, okay, I kind of like it. I'm not a Rams fan by any means, so I didn't really take notice of it. I thought it looked pretty cool from the outside. I'm not a Rams fan, so I wouldn't appreciate it as much as true Rams fan, and I respect that 110%. Of course, but I'm just being completely honest. I'm just not a Rams fan, so I saw it looked pretty cool. I moved on. I thought maybe I'm not even gonna make it to the podcast because it's just a new logo. It looks alright. I like the horn sticking out of the A in the LA, and I turned it off. And I moved on in my life. And then yesterday. And this is surprisingly, because this is how international this is. I was watching a Mexican TV show from, it's broadcast from there. And they were talking about it, how people were not liking the Los Angeles Rams logo. Yeah, so this was going on in the literal Mexican TV show. And they were talking about how a lot of people were displeased or not liking the LA logo. And I had saw it the first time, like I said, and I thought it looked pretty cool, and I just moved on with my life. So I didn't think about it. I didn't give any thought. I didn't, assess the actual logo. I didn't compare it. I didn't do anything crazy. I just went on with my life. So they brought up an interesting comparison, and that's when I knew, wow, the Rams really messed up. They compared the Los Angeles Rams new logo with a Division II university, college, called Angelo State University. Now, you can look this up. This is legitimate. This is a real university. It's Division II football. Their logo is exactly the same as the Los Angeles Rams. Obviously, the letters are different because their initials ASU instead of LA. And I saw this and I was like, wow, you are a huge brand. Not a corporation. Well, you guys do run like a corporation, but you know what I mean. This is a company and this is a huge overall brand. And you but you don't have the imagination to you know what I mean? Like, you don't have the imagination, or at least, you have the resources. Look into, does anybody else have this idea? Maybe, I don't know this for a fact. By any means, this can be completely false. But what if somebody saw that logo for ASU, Angelo State University, and said, you know what? That looked really cool in the Los Angeles for the Los Angeles Rams, and they just made it to the Los Angeles Rams logo. Now, that can be completely false, but you have to realize that when you're a huge brand, you can't be compared to a Division II state university. And no offense to that state university, I hope I can only imagine how good it is and the great education that you're receiving from them. They have a really nice football field, but you are compared to the Los Angeles Rams. It's ridiculous. And then I gave a closer look into the actual Ram logo, the one that it shows just the Ram, not the LA with the Ram head poking out, but just the actual Ram head. They didn't. I was absolutely shocked that the Los Angeles Rams would actually put it out there. What they did, it's ridiculous. They didn't show any detail. They didn't even add the eye. It's what I would pay probably somebody to make for a brand, and I'll probably pay like $15. They just outlined the head of a ram. If you look at their previous logo, I mean, obviously they show the neck more, but it's just the head and it's outlined. They didn't detail it like in the other Rams logo, like their old Rams logo. In the old Rams logo, they had, the mouth, they had the nose, they had the eye, they had the shape of the neck and everything protruding. And you go from that, like a detailed logo, and you create an outline of a head. It's ridiculous. I don't understand. I really, apologize for all the Rams fans who are out there seeing this. If you're a huge Rams fan, you should be outraged. Like, you're a huge corporation, and you can't create something better than this. I think it's ridiculous. I think, they're going to the SoFi Stadium, and I'll get a little bit topic onto that, but you go into a new stadium, $1 billion stadium, and you can't create a better logo. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. Whoever created it, they probably just, didn't put their heart into it. They just did half a job, They thought, what would be cool? What if I outline a ram head, or what if I just put a horn coming out of the A, like the university? It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. I can't stand it. And the good thing is that we're having, Eric Dickerson, Hall of Fame running back. He is the Ram ambassador, if you guys know, if you watch him on Fox, and he's petitioning, or not petitioning, but going to show the Los Angeles Rams some new logos that fans have designed themselves. And frankly, wow, they look so much better than than what they created as the Ram. And I seen so many memes. I saw the one where a croissant is coming out of the A instead of the horn. It's ridiculous. You can't put more heart and effort to a team. They probably just hired some people who didn't even know football or something like that. Like, you have to embody what it means to be a Rams fan. I frankly don't understand, but if any of my teams decided just to change the logo and half-heartedly do it, I'd be mad too. There's no way. You have to show what it's like. You're a Rams fan for life. You're a Rams fan now. They're in Los Angeles. They, very high celebrity, fan base and everything like that. And you create that, it's ridiculous. I see some fans on Twitter creating better than. So hopefully, Eric Dickerson can figure it out, can show the Los Angeles Rams a few good ideas, and maybe they can change it. Hopefully it's not too late. I know they imprinted it on a lot of jerseys, on a lot of hoodies, hats, and all that kind of good stuff. So hopefully they can, reassess what they did, fix the mistake, and change it. Hopefully they can. They probably won't. I mean, it's already imprinted. They already trademarked it, hopefully. It's just ridiculous when you can compare your logo to a university's logo. It's kind of sad. If you know what I mean. It's kind of sad. It's like if the Houston Texans just put the University of Texas Longhorns symbol on it. You know what I mean. It's ridiculous. You can't be compared to a university. So hopefully they do some pretty good jobs and reassessing what they did, their mistakes, and giving the Los Angeles fans what they deserve in a logo. So, since we're talking about the Los Angeles Rams anyway, another topic that's coming out of there is that the SoFi, the new stadium, construction is continuing. And I think that is very interesting. I know that California has a stay-at-home law. Not all of California, but especially Los Angeles. And it's really interesting that, supposedly only essential work is supposed to be open. I don't view a new stadium as being essential. I know this is crazy, and I know they have the money, believe me. So I know that they're milking it for all they can, but I don't see this as essential, and I think this is really going to have it's going to backfire on them. I know that the workers were saying how they were going to practice social distancing while they were working and all this kind of good stuff, but you can't mess with this disease, this infection that's going on. I don't want to name it because if you guys don't know, I put these podcasts up on YouTube as well. So if you guys wanted to, I don't want to be demonetized, so actually I haven't even reached monetized, so please support the channel, subscribe and like for more. But overall, I'm just saying that you can't have workers working on a stadium that I understand that they want to get it ready for the next season, and the season is coming up in a few months away. But it's insane. You can't have. This is going to backfire. I know this is. It's just going to, and they're going to have to halt it eventually. All they're going to do is get more people sick. And I'm all for new stadium, and I know it's going to look amazing. I know it's going to really revolutionize how we see stadiums all around the world. But you cannot put the workers' lives at risk for a stadium, and this is crazy. And without even realizing it, they found a construction worker who was working on the for the Raiders' new Allegiant stadium, and he tested positive. All I'm saying, the whole point of staying home, the whole point of staying clean, the whole point of washing your hands, the whole point of all this that we're doing extremely cautious about is to not infect more people. So what you have to do is not be in multiple groups of people, because all it takes is one. All it takes is, the more you learn about this disease, the more you realize how potentially catastrophic it will be when it comes to everything, mainly touching, breathing, all this kind of stuff, that you realize how this thing spreads. It's insane. I don't want to get into numbers. I don't want to make this about, the epidemic that we're having right now. This is a sports channel, but I just wanted to raise awareness of what is going on. And I understand the billions of dollars that are going into this stadium, but you have to realize the lives of people are at stake at this point. This thing is getting out of hand. New York is closing down. Florida's getting the worst out of it. Italy it's going down. This thing is a major crisis, and I understand that a lot of people don't view it that way. I saw the clips of spring breakers going to the beaches and, if I get sick, I get sick. But you have to realize the magnitude of this disease that is going around. It spreads more rapidly than you realize. So the whole point is, maybe you survive, but what about the people around you? That's why we're implementing, and this is why the government is going crazy. This is why huge companies are closing. The NBA is estimated to lose $500 million. I believe it was million. I hope it wasn't billion. $500 million by closing their season a little bit early. If they're willing to risk, or not willing, maybe forcibly forced to close or end their season and lose $500 million, that should be a sign. These are corporations that don't close. These are, school districts that don't close. If you live somewhere where the school district, it snows and blah, 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 things are going worse, and they don't close, now they're closing because they realize the people up and upper management are realizing this thing is going out of hand. So if you're somebody who says, if I get it, I get it, I understand. I understand you can't be stuck in your house for the rest of your life. I understand that. But if we all just stayed inside for probably like 60, and I know this is easier said than done, but you stay inside for a couple days, a couple weeks, a couple months, this thing will be over before it continues to spread and kill a lot of people. And I don't want to make this about this. Once again, I wanted to say that this is a sports podcast, but this is affecting not only sport, and the Olympics. The Olympics got postponed by a year. And, a lot of people saying, oh, why do they need to postpone? We just have it without the people, without the fans and all this kind of stuff. You can't be in multitudes of people. The Olympians, they have to have their trainers. They have to have their, everything, their doctors, their everything around them to train properly to get the best results they can possibly get with all this technology that is going up in the world. And they can't do that. So they're not going to be prepared, and the Olympics finally said, we're going to postpone this for a year. This is insane. We have to realize as people, maybe we're not taking this as heavily as we should. And most people, I'm one of them. Like I actually have been quarantined, not quarantined 'cause I don't have it, but inside my house for about a week or two. And I don't have it. I've never gotten it. And I pray that I don't get it. But I don't expose myself to not only receive this disease, but to spread it to the people that I touch, the people that I see, the people that I love. That's what people have to keep in mind. This is not just about you. You may survive it. Maybe you're young, maybe you're strong. You will survive it. And there's the recovery rate is much higher than the death rate. And I think that's something that a lot of people are not realizing. I think there's north of 400,000 people that are infected right now. And there's a recovery rate of like 150,000 or more, somewhere around there. I don't want to give the exact numbers because I don't want to go into depth and make this podcast just about that. But, the recovery rate is much higher, 10 times as higher as the death rate. But we don't realize that the people in the death rate is it's climbing very high, very rapidly. And we're seeing this with Italy. We saw it with China. We saw it with Italy. And now we're seeing it with the United States. And the numbers are only climbing higher. So I urge you guys to stay safe, stay clean, And, this whole SoFi construction, it's not going to work. It's going to backfire. I hope that the owner or whoever's in charge of the construction realizes this and shuts it down. The state of California should shut it down. We just saw in the Las Vegas Raiders and their new stadium, a worker tested positive. What are they going to do now? They're going to have to halt it unless they want more people to receive or transmit this disease. It's insane. I hope people stay, Sean Payton was cleared officially. He's 56 years old. It's a blessing. He's officially been cleared. I hope he doesn't go out. They say that once you receive it, once you, go through your days, and once you're officially cleared from it, you can't get it again until it mutates. I'm glad. I'm happy for him. I'm very happy to see that a great head coach is perfectly fine now. But we're seeing this with everybody around us as well. He is a good case, and I'm very happy about that. But we now hear about, Karl Anthony Towns, whose mom is medically induced in a coma. You can't pick and choose. You can't say, I'm just gonna risk it all because I want to go to the beach and experience spring break. I want to party. I want to build a new stadium. This is all not necessary. This is not understandably. This is going to be bad, and I just urge people, if you are listening, to stay home, stay clean, and do not make the mistakes that most people are making and not believing that this thing is really serious as it may seem. That was it for that topic. I don't want to give you guys, I keep repeating, I almost said it. Not a disease topic, not a podcast. This is a sports podcast, so I want to get back into the sports. Just want to give you guys a quick update on what's going on in the world and how it's affecting not only sports but the people around you. I just want to talk about at this point how the draft, for all you guys who are curious, the draft is going to happen. They were saying that it's going to be televised individually. So that's what they were saying. They were trying to make it into a virtual draft. So have each player, on camera looking at, getting drafted by the teams that are also on camera. So it's going to be an interesting, way to see all of this going on. I know that this is kind of crazy, but I hope it works, and I hope it works great. And I can only imagine how a lot of people. I'm excited to see this happening, just to see the draft, see where people go, and it's really interesting to see all this kind of stuff. So I just want to give you guys a quick update. So that's what they're considering right now, as of right now, and most likely going to be the one to happen, and still give you guys what is necessary for the draft. Okay, so jumping on to the next topic, we have Tua Tagovailoa shown in a video throwing the football. I want to give you my quick thoughts. He looks pretty good. At this point, he's been injured. He missed a few games. He looks pretty good. Yeah, the movement looks kind of fluid. His throwing motion looks good. I saw the ball come out of his hand. It looked pretty, had a little velocity. I'm not gonna lie. I'm excited to see which team takes him. Most people have him going to the Miami Dolphins at number 5. Maybe somebody's going to step up and take him before, make a trade. It's exciting. I can't wait to see him, and I wish him the best, and I can't wait to see him and what he does with wherever team he goes. So I'm excited to see him have a recovery, and I wish him all the best. So I just wanted to get that out there. He looks really good in the video. Of course, it's just a video, and he's in shirt and t-shirt. A t-shirt and shorts. So I just wanted to see. I'm kind of more on the wary side. I want to see him do it on a football field, in pads, in a real game situation. So, but again, I wish him the best, and I can't wait to see him. I'll definitely be watching his games wherever he goes in this upcoming season. Next up, I just want to talk about the power rankings. This is pretty early. We're in March. At the end of March, we don't have a couple months left until the actual season starts. Hopefully, it starts on time. I just want to go through what's going on. NFL.com, they released their power rankings, and I just want to get over, some of the teams, and I'm excited, give my thoughts about what's going on and how I see each team, just quickly. And I was thinking about making like a whole, kind of like a little part in my podcast where I go in depth on each team and, what I think about them and what I think they're going to do in the upcoming season. So, and number one in the power rankings, we have the Kansas City Chiefs. I agree with that. They still have, Chris Jones. They franchised him. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They have Sammy Watkins. They have Tyreek Hill. They have Nicole Hardman. They have the good offensive line. They have Travis Kelce. I mean, they didn't really lose anybody, notably, except for Kendall Fuller. But, I mean, everything besides that, I mean, they just won the Super Bowl. I hope they don't have a Super Bowl, a Super Bowl hangover. I wish them the best, and I definitely think that they rightfully deserve to be number one on the power rankings. Next up, we have the 49ers. I'm a little wary. I understand why they're number two. They just won the Super Bowl. They lost, unfortunately, but I don't see it as that. They just lost to Forrest Buckner. They do have, 2 first-round picks. So it's going to be interesting on how they manage their team. But I don't see them going to the Super Bowl again. I hope I'm wrong. I kind of see them as the Los Angeles Rams in the situation where they went to the Super Bowl, and the next season the whole NFL defense is caught up to them, and they, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to throw, turn over the ball. So it's just not. I'm not saying they don't deserve the number 2 spot. Of course they do. They went to the playoffs. I just don't believe that they have what it takes to remain the second powerhouse in the NFL. At number 3, we have the Baltimore Ravens. Once again, I think that the Ravens are better than the San Francisco 49ers at this point in time. They got Calais Campbell. They got Michael Brockers. They still have Matt Judon, supposedly. He received a franchise tag. So it's definitely something to see. They did lose Hayden Hurst, but as a tight end. But, I mean, it's definitely interesting to see how they move on from this. I don't know if you guys heard my podcasts in the past, but I compare Lamar Jackson to James Harden. And I don't mean this in a disrespectful way at all. I definitely see that, the absolute powerhouse that they have. I have not seen Lamar Jackson in the playoffs doing what it takes necessarily to win. Yeah, his stats look amazing. I just seen him come short twice in consecutive years. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope he proves me wrong. But I definitely have to go on based on what I've seen. And I've seen him lose 2 games. Yeah, his stats looked amazing. But you can see back the tape and you realize he is the reason why they lose. So I'm excited to see what they do. I hope he breaks the metaphor or the comparison that I put him with James Harden. So I wish him the best. He had a tremendous regular season. So I hope he does. So let's move on to number 4. We have the New Orleans Saints. I'm a lot more wary with the Saints. I've seen them start hot and end freezing cold. They have Drew Brees is back, 2-year deal, $25 million a year. We have they lost Teddy Bridgewater, which is unfortunate. They did bring in Emmanuel Sanders, so that's definitely interesting to see how he pairs up with Michael Thomas on the other side. But you have Taysom Hill as your backup. It's troublesome when you have your Swiss Army knife that Taysom Hill is outplay your Pro Bowl Hall of Fame quarterback in Drew Brees. Like I said, Drew Brees, he has the notorious in the Saints the last 2 seasons. They start off super hot and they get super cold toward the end. You can blame the controversial calls or no calls that they've gotten in the past 2 seasons, but it's definitely something that you have to take account in. Drew Brees definitely was outplayed by his own third-string quarterback in Taysom Hill last season in the playoffs. I'm excited to see what he does, but especially with Tom Brady now in the Buccaneers uniform, I'm excited to see what the Panthers do. So it's definitely something that will definitely keep my eye on them, but I do not believe that the Saints deserve to be number 4. We have the Green Bay Packers. I can't have them at number 5. They went to the NFC Championship. I realized that and I recognize that, but I saw Aaron Rodgers completely stink it up against the 49ers. They still have Devontae Adams. They lost Jimmy Graham, so that was not a huge loss because by any measure he was not what he was hoping to be. DeAndre Hopkins went to the Cardinals, so that's very interesting to see how they play against the Packers. I don't see the Packers as a number 5 overall in power rankings. I hope that I'm proven wrong, but I just can't get over the fact that Aaron Rodgers completely stunk it up against the 49ers. Now, of course, they did make it to the conference championship, so that's something that you have to think positive about. I think that their defense is pretty good. I think Aaron Rodgers was below average this season. And I'm excited to see how the tables turn this upcoming season. So I would probably put Packers below the Titans, and I'll get into the Titans. So the Titans are number 6. So right now the Packers are number 5, Titans are number 6, and I think that the Titans actually would keep the Packers ahead of the Titans because the Titans made the huge mistake, and I'm moving on to the Titans at number 6. They made the huge mistake of signing Ryan Tannehill to a huge deal. I don't see Ryan Tannehill having what it takes to, win and to put the team on his back and, win the necessary games that are needed. He threw, I believe it was 16 total completions in 2 playoff games. I don't know what you can ask more of a more, Cinderella story when you're a quarterback and you only have to throw the ball like 8 times for 2 games. It's insane. They still have Derrick Henry. They franchise tagged him. They're losing Logan Ryan in the backfield. They lost Jack Conklin. So it's definitely a big deal. I hope Ryan Tannehill goes up, but he was a bust in Miami. I want you guys to forget that. And, he played 8 games in the regular season, and he played 3 playoff games. So I'm excited to see what he does, but I definitely think that he's going to crumble under pressure now that the new expectations he has as being the franchise quarterback. So definitely interested to see what they do, but I cannot put my trust in Ryan Tannehill. At number 7, we have the Seahawks. That's definitely interesting to see. They might lose Jadeveon Clowney, definitely one of definitely a pass rusher that you'd hate to see leave. I think he played phenomenal for the Seahawks. I know his stats didn't really reflect that, but if you saw the game, he was definitely a game changer on the defensive side. So it's definitely interesting to see what the Seahawks do with Jadeveon Clowney. I hope him the best. I hope he gets the money that he deserves. He's had a pretty good career. He should have stayed in Houston. Houston made a mistake of letting him go. I understand that because he does have health issues. So I understand completely. I hope that the Seahawks do better. And I definitely think that they're going to be very good this upcoming season. Then number 8, we have the Buffalo Bills. They gave a lot for Stephon Diggs. If you really think about it, now, was he worth it? He might be. He did pretty good with Kirk Cousins as a quarterback. You now go from Kirk Cousins to Josh Allen. Josh Allen hasn't been the best throwing quarterback, but he definitely is something to keep in mind, keep an eye on. He did go to the playoffs, and he did lose on a miracle play from Deshaun Watson, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on. They did add Mario Addison, and they also added Quentin Jefferson. They also added Vernon Butler and Josh Norman. So it's definitely interesting to see, how they beefed up their team. They added the offensive star that they needed in Stephon Diggs, and they had, they had added pretty good defensive players on the backfield. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on the Bills. I think that they should have gotten DeAndre Hopkins, but definitely excited to see what they do. We have the Eagles at number 9. I am curious. They lost Malcolm Jenkins. They did trade for Darius Slay, so that's something that definitely would improve. They still have Fletcher Cox and Malik Jackson. They still have Carson Wentz. They should have gotten DeAndre Hopkins, and I explained this in the last podcast how they didn't trade for DeAndre Hopkins, so it's definitely interesting to see. I don't see them making a huge leap unless they really come together. I feel like after Nick Foles won the Super Bowl, or when Nick Foles started playing in the playoffs, they really made a divide in that locker room. So I feel like the locker room is the number one problem for the Eagles. If they get it together, they can definitely be a good team. I'm excited to see and stay healthy. Number 10, we have the Steelers. And I'll just go to number 10. I don't want to get into more depth. But they have the Steelers at number 10. I'm surprised. Ben Roethlisberger is coming back. Last season before his injury, he was playing pretty average, pretty bad. So I don't know what to expect from the Steelers. I honestly do not know what to expect. They have a pretty hard division. So I'm excited to see. He did get Eric Ebron from the Colts, I believe. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. I just don't see the Steelers going to be a factor in the NFL this upcoming season. I hope I'm wrong. But once again, I just don't believe in Ben Roethlisberger at this point in time. He is coming off a big injury. He is up there in age, so it's definitely interesting to see. So I don't, out of this top 10, I really don't agree with some of them. Instead of the Saints, I probably have the Buccaneers up there, and instead of the Steelers, I probably have the Cowboys up there, or the Colts, or the Vikings, or the Rams, or the Browns. I'll definitely go more in depth as the time goes on. I just want to do top 10 today to end the podcast. I know it came from a kind of a delicate subject beforehand with the whole disease that's going on, so I just wanted to line up the mood with the top 10 power rankings. I'll probably do the rest next season, probably 10 more, and then the remaining 12 the day after that. So I hope you guys enjoyed my podcast. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying clean, and continuing to support the channel and support the podcast and listening to where you can. So I hope I'm making a difference in your life. I hope I'm entertaining you at the very least. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and enjoy.